Hey everyone, and welcome back. When you think of Zhuge Liang, what comes to mind? Maybe it's borrowing the east wind, the empty fort strategy, or those incredible wooden oxen and flowing horses. He's often portrayed as this mystical, almost magical strategist who could conjure victory out of thin air. For centuries, storytellers and operas have cemented this image of a wizard in a scholar's robe. But what if I told you the real Zhuge Liang, the historical figure, was less of a magician and more of a master logistician? A pragmatist obsessed not with tricks, but with the nitty-gritty details of running a state and an army. Today, we're peeling back the layers of legend to find the realist underneath. We're going to explore how his genius wasn't just in battlefield tactics, but in the unglamorous yet absolutely critical work of supply lines, human resources, and state building. This is the story of Zhuge Liang, the CEO of Shu2. To understand Zhuge Liang's realism, we first have to understand the massive challenge he faced. The kingdom of Shu2 was, to put it mildly, at a disadvantage. It was nestled in the mountainous and difficult terrain of the Yi province, what is now modern Sichuan. Compared to the fertile central plains of Chaowei or the rich riverlands of eastern Wu, Shu was resource-poor and geographically isolated. Think of it like a startup company trying to compete with two established megacorporations. They have more money, more people, and better locations. This is where Zhuge Liang's pragmatism shines. He knew he couldn't win a straightforward war of attrition. He didn't have the endless manpower or grain reserves of his rivals. Every soldier, every bag of rice was precious. So, his entire strategy wasn't built on a single brilliant trick. It was built on a solid, sustainable foundation. He knew that before he could even dream of launching his famous northern expeditions to reclaim the Han Dynasty's heartland, he had to get his own house in order. And his first and foremost obsession was logistics. War, as they say, is won by logistics. Zhuge Liang lived by this rule. His northern expeditions were some of the most ambitious military campaigns of the era. The primary route led through the treacherous Qinling Mountains, a series of winding, narrow paths where a single landslide could halt an entire army. Getting tens of thousands of soldiers, plus their food, weapons, and equipment, through this terrain was a logistical nightmare. Records show that Zhuge Liang meticulously calculated every detail. He knew exactly how much grain his army would consume each day and how long it would take for supply convoys to travel from his capital, Chengdu, to the front lines. It was a race against time. If the supplies ran out, the campaign was over, no matter how brilliant his strategy. In fact, several of his expeditions were cut short not because of a tactical defeat, but precisely because the supply line broke down. His famous wooden oxen and flowing horses, while romanticized, were likely advanced wheelbarrows or carts designed specifically to navigate these difficult mountain paths more efficiently. They weren't magic. They were a practical solution to a very real problem. He even tried to solve the supply issue by moving the farm to the front line. This brings us to his policy of Tuntian, or military agricultural colonies. Instead of hauling grain over hundreds of kilometers, Zhuge Liang had his soldiers set up farms near their encampments in enemy territory. They would plant crops during lulls in the fighting. This was a brilliant, long-term strategy. It reduced the strain on his home base, made his army more self-sufficient, and allowed him to sustain campaigns for much longer periods. It shows a leader thinking not just about the next battle, but about the season after, and the year after that. This wasn't the work of a gambler looking for one lucky break. It was the work of a master planner building for the long haul. Beyond beans and bullets, Zhuge Liang's realism extended to his management of people. He was an exceptional administrator, what we might call a master of human resources. After Liu Bei's death, Zhuge Liang inherited a state filled with different factions. There were the original followers who had been with Liu Bei from the start, the powerful local families of Yi province who were wary of these newcomers, and officials from Jing province. It was a recipe for internal conflict. Zhuge Liang's approach was one of fairness and meritocracy. He established a clear and strict legal code, making sure it applied to everyone, regardless of their status or connections. A famous story tells of him demoting himself after a military failure, taking responsibility and showing that even the highest authority was accountable. He promoted officials based on their talent and loyalty, not their background. Men like Jiang Wan and Fei Yi, who would later succeed him, were chosen and groomed by Zhuge Liang for their administrative skills. He was building an institution that could outlast him. He wasn't a one-man show, he was building a team and a system. This focus on stable governance and competent succession is the hallmark of a realist leader, not a mythical strategist who believes he alone can win. So, when we look at Zhuge Liang's career, what do we see? Do we see a man constantly waiting for a magical gust of wind? No. We see a man who built dams and irrigation systems to boost food production. We see a man who reformed the tax code to ensure the state had a stable income. We see a man who personally inspected troop rosters and supply inventories. His greatest weapon wasn't a clever ruse, it was his abacus. It was his deep understanding that wars are won and states are built on the back of a strong economy, efficient logistics, and stable, competent governance. The romantic image of Zhuge Liang is captivating, and it's not entirely without merit. He was undoubtedly a brilliant military tactician, but his true, lasting genius lies in his realism. He was a man who faced a nearly impossible situation and responded not with fantasy, but with meticulous planning, hard work, and an unshakable grasp of reality. He knew that before you can perform miracles, you have to do your homework. You have to secure your supply lines, manage your people, and build a foundation strong enough to support your ambitions. The real Zhuge Liang teaches us a timeless lesson. Success, whether in ancient warfare or modern life, rarely comes from a single stroke of genius. It comes from mastering the fundamentals, from managing your resources wisely, and from building a sustainable system. The legend is inspiring, but the reality is, in many ways, even more impressive. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into history. What do you think? Do you prefer the mystic or the realist Zhuge Liang? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more hidden histories, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. It really helps the channel grow. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.